Good morning. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com and my Smart American Accent training. I'm glad you could make it today to my live question and answer class. I'll be taking your questions about the American accent and talking about pronunciation topics, giving you some resources you can use to improve your American accent. And of course, we always have a quick tip that you can use right away to start improving your English. Please feel free to ask your questions at any time in the chat. And if you're watching the broadcast later on, the replay, you can put your questions in the comments and I'll check those and get back to you with the answers, where you can find the information in my YouTube videos and on my website, speechmodification.com. So welcome. Many of you have been taking part, last month took part in our Everyday in May challenge, where we were looking at everyday words, the words that we say the most frequently, and noticing accent error patterns and mispronunciations of those words. And today I'd like to highlight some of these words that you can change to improve your American accent, some basic, simple, quick fixes you can use that will have a big effect on your speech. I'm also excited to tell you about my new book. I have a new book that you can download for free on speechmodification.com and on iTunes. So I'll be talking about that later in the class today. I'd like to give you a quick tip you can use. We'll do that at the end today. And I want to talk about why and how you can make a change just by focusing on a few simple words in English. So when we speak in English, we have lots and lots of words that we say. You have a big vocabulary, many things that you can say, but you may not realize that the bulk of what you're saying, about 80% of your words, are just a few hundred words. So we're saying very complex things, talking to different people, talking on different topics, but the majority of what we're saying is all of these structure words that hold our English language together. So we're saying words like the and was and is and he and goes. And so if 80% of what you're saying is made up of these little words and you learn to correct the pronunciation of these little words, you automatically have an 80% increase, an 80% improvement in how you're pronouncing English. Now, of course, speech is complex. We have to connect words together. And there's other words that aren't in these top words. But the SMART technique, my technique for American accent training, focuses in on the patterns you have on those words. I teach you about error patterns, about things that come from your accent and how to correct them on simple words, and then how to apply that overall in your speech for a big improvement. So that's what my new book is about. And in the book, I describe these things in detail, but I also have a lot of videos and illustrations for you so you can walk through some of the steps. And the book is basically about just changing one word, but it teaches you much more than how to change one word. It teaches you how changing that one word and learning about those accent error patterns is going to affect many, many words that you speak in English. So when we correct an error pattern on one simple word, when we're focusing in on one thing, number one, we change that word. But number two, this error pattern, we have it on many words in English. So the work that we've done on a single word will expand to many other words. Let's take an example. The word that I'm focusing on in my new book is the word the. So the is the most commonly used word in English. We say this word about every 27th word. So we use it quite a bit. 3 to 4% of the words that you say are the word the. So if you have an error on the word the, you can tell, yeah, that's going to have a big impact on how you sound. Every time you're saying, every 27th word you say, 3% of your speech sounds accented. Yeah, that's going to affect your speech. What are the error patterns we have on the word the? So the word the is made up of two sounds. So I spell the word the with 3 letters, T-H-E, and this is made up of 2 sounds. So the first sound is voice TH, and this is the symbol for voice TH. It sounds like v, v. This symbol is the IPA symbol. It's what you'll find in many online dictionaries. Some dictionaries will use their own symbol system, but I like the Oxford Learner's Dictionary because it uses IPA. And it shows you the symbols for all languages as well as English. So the is made up of th, and vowel schwa. And vowel schwa just sounds like So even though we just have two sounds in the, we have two error patterns on this sound. So firstly, for the voice TH sound, many of you know TH can be a difficult sound to say in English. It's not a sound that's in a lot of other languages. And even those of you that have the TH sound in your language, you may have a different way of producing that sound. So I do have a full playlist on how to pronounce American TH. And I suggest that you take a look at that. Many of you are pronouncing this sound correctly. If you're thinking about it, you're able to say the with the correct tongue placement, the correct sound. But in your everyday speech, it may sound a little bit more like duh with a D sound, or z with a Z sound. And basically, both of those error patterns are because of the place that you're holding your tongue. So to say the TH sound, I rest my tongue gently between my teeth, and then the air has to continue. There's also a voiceless TH sound. It sounds like this. That's in words like think, thought, and with. And the error pattern that many people have is the incorrect tongue placement. Number one, the tongue can go behind the teeth, and when your tongue is pushing against your teeth, the air cannot flow, the sound gets stopped, and it ends up sounding more like duh, duh. To Americans, that sounds like you're saying duh with a D. Another error pattern that happens for Russian speakers, many Chinese speakers, is that your tongue isn't blocking the air. It's not sounding like duh, but it's too far back. It's not between your teeth, and it ends up sounding more like z, 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 because you're allowing the air to flow, you're getting that noisy friction sound, but it's with your tongue in the wrong position. So to get some details, to learn more about making that sound, you can go to my Voice TH video and my American TH playlist, and it'll walk you through the steps and give you details and practice. I will also say that all of those details are linked in my book. So here's my ebook. You can get it through iTunes for your iPhone, your iPad, or your Mac, or on my website for other formats, other types of phones and computers. So the one error pattern in the word the is the voice TH, and the second error pattern is on the vowel schwa. When we see the word the, we see the letter E, and we might think, oh, I should pronounce this word with an E sound, the. And we do pronounce the word the with an E sound sometimes. So we do say the when the next word starts with a vowel. So we would say the email, the office, the airplane. And we also say the when we're emphasizing the word the. So if I'm talking about the best thing, I might say the instead of the. But the majority of the time, when we say the word the, we should be using vowel schwa, and it should sound like the. Typically, that error is not that challenging to correct in terms of pronunciation. Most of you can say vowel schwa, but it's a matter of being able to remember and switching over to the new pattern. When we speak, we rely on habits to help us with speech. Speech is very complex. It's made up of a lot of very complicated motor movements of the mouth. And so even when we're thinking about how to hold our tongue or how to say a vowel sound, our habits will take over and do it our usual way. Hello, nice to see you, Sunita. Suniti, sorry. Please feel free to ask questions. Everyone who's watching, I will pause and read your questions and answer them. So let's talk about, I've worked maybe on these error patterns. Now I'm aware of pronunciation of the word the. Why does that help me? Number one, if all I correct is the word the, as I said before, all of a sudden 3 to 4% of my speech has been corrected, and I'm not making that error pattern anymore. But it's also going to help me on all of the other words that have the voice TH sound. And those of you who struggle with voice TH and voiceless TH, you might already have noticed, wow, we say that a lot in English. There's many, many words that have this pattern. In fact, about 20 of the most frequently used words in English have voice TH at the beginning. So words like that, them, their, then, they, than, etc. Those, these. So if you can correct that voice TH pattern on the word the, it's also going to help you with all of those other words. That's an even bigger percentage of your speech that you're correcting. Also, if I correct the voice TH, it's going to help me with the voiceless TH. It has the same error pattern. When I'm saying words like think and thought, I might tend to stop them and sound like tink or tot with the incorrect tongue position, or sink or sought. If I am a Russian speaker or Chinese speaker, my tongue position will make that happen for me. So working on one word helps us with all of those other words, as well as vowel schwa is the most frequently used vowel sound, the most frequently used sound overall in English. We use vowel schwa more than any other sound in English. So if you start to become aware of what that sound is, where it is in words, and especially of that pattern of oftentimes we say instead of the letter. We don't say e, the letter e in the. We also don't do this in other words like above, about, today, tomorrow. In these words, so in the word the, we see the letter E, and we might think we need to say the E sound. That's incorrect. In the word about, we might have a tendency to say about or about because we see letter A, but it's actually a vowel schwa. It should sound more like about. Same thing with today. I don't say that O vowel. I don't say today. I say today. Today with an sound. So if we learn these two patterns, it's going to affect many, many words, many other words in English and help us improve our pronunciation and our accent. Excuse me. So I'm going to pause for a second. We have a question, which is how to pronounce over there. It's really hard to move my tongue from the R sound to the TH sound. That's a great question. That's actually where I was going next. I was going to tell you about how once I can say the word the, I have to begin to learn how to produce it when I'm moving from another word into the word the. So let's look at your question over there. And you've noticed very astutely that going from the R sound over to the TH sound is challenging. So you have to do an and then a v, the. What I'm going to suggest is that in this context, over there, I don't really link those words when I'm talking. I would say naturally, he's over there, let's go over there. And there's a little tiny break between those two. So that's the first thing. If you are able to say over and you're able to say there, then doing what I just did, a lot of repeated phrase practice is really going to help you. So starting with something, first of all, just practicing over there with a little break, and then trying to speed up to transition between the R and the TH. And then you can begin to use words and phrases like he's over there, I'm over there. Specifically to work from to over there, I suggest that you think about, this is a transition that we use in the opposite direction quite a bit in words like other, either. I have to go from to And in those cases, I suggest that you begin to be anticipating the R. So when I'm saying other, I have to have that correct tongue position for the TH. I have to have my tongue between my teeth, but I'm already beginning to tighten and pulling back the back part of my tongue to do the so that I can slide from TH to So it's a little bit different than if I just said with, or a word that ended with the voice TH. Going from to TH, I would say over there. It's basically the same thing in reverse. I'm going to be trying to focus on holding that back position and getting the front of my tongue ready to move forward for the voice TH. So you can practice just those sounds, earth. You can also practice in words. This happens in words like earth with a voiceless TH, girth. We don't say that much. Earth is probably the word we would say most frequently that has this pattern. So work on saying earth slowly, earth, and try to help your tongue make new habits to form moving from the R to the TH. Definitely a good question and a problem that people will have when we have more than one difficult sound in close proximity in the same word or in the same phrase. We're going to have to take extra care to be able to pronounce both sounds correctly. Another question for words like program, voltage, temperature, module, component, and quality. Okay, great. So clearly these are words that you probably have to say very frequently for you in your job, in your work, and you're welcome. In addition, the SMART technique, when I'm working with people in my one-to-one training, we work on these frequently used words, and then we do look at words that you personally have to say very frequently. And what I suggest is you have a nice word list here. Go ahead and write down the words that you have and look for the patterns you have in those words. So when you have an awareness of which accent error patterns that you have in your individual speech and also based on your native language, you'll be able to look at a list of words and say, okay, program, temperature, those two have the R sound, so maybe you have difficulty with the R sound. Voltage, module, component, quality, those have multiple syllables, so maybe you need some help and focus on how to pronounce syllables in words. Let's just do a quick rundown of your words. The other thing that I suggest is you can always type any word that you have a challenge with into my search box on my YouTube homepage. And if I have made a video for that word, it'll come up and you can see the video. I do think I may have one for quality. So it will work from the back end to the front. Quality, we're looking at probably for you that you may notice that people tend to say quality, with a flap T sound rather than quality, which would be more the British pronunciation. So I suggest taking a look at my American T videos. That's going to help you with pronouncing that word and that sound. Component, what I would focus on is having a stressed syllable in the middle. So the other two syllables are short. Component, I'm using a good American O sound. And come and nant are short and reduced. So component, holding your O for a long sound is going to help you. This is our vowel schwa, like we were talking about with the letter O says a, component. And then nant is kind of interesting where I tend to have, I have almost no vowel sound in that word. So I'm going to use a stop T, component, and I'm going to use a syllabic N in that word. So for that word, look at the patterns and look at my videos for syllabic N. That's something that I just uploaded last week. And for final T, and that's another recent video. So that's going to help you with those patterns and putting it together, component. And so those are examples of how understanding the patterns and the sounds that are in your particular accent patterns is going to really help you with pronunciation. In addition, program, again, that vowel O, you're going to want to hold that longer. That's where the stress is. Program. Voltage, again, vowel O. So maybe we're seeing a tendency here that you have difficulty knowing how to pronounce those O vowels. I do have a video that I just uploaded this morning talking about the word job and how in that word the letter O says the ah vowel. You can look at my vowels playlist to help you begin to sort out that letters do not always say consistent sounds. I also, if you go to the vowel job, to the Say This Not That job video, there's a link to a class that I did about vowel O and the different things that the letter O can say, as well as the different vowel sounds. So that might help you with module, voltage, program, component, many of those words. Temperature, we have a tendency that will have a pattern of people might think it has temperature, all of those syllables, but we really say temperature. We reduce those middle two syllables and we just do 3 syllables there. So I'm going to stop there and I'll take a closer look in the comments after the video and give you some more tips on your words. Thank you so much for the question. I see we have a few more coming in. Pascal wants to know how to say the AIL sound in the words tail, fail, and Taylor. Okay, great. So we just start with that combination of letters, ale, ale, and the ale is basically one vowel, vowel A, which in American English glides between A and I, A. If I think of it being spelled like this, it can be helpful. A, ale, and because the L is a final L, I have a little vowel schwa. So, ale, because I'm going from A to I need to insert a y sound there to glide. So look at all those sounds. it's only really, if we think about it, two sounds, A and U, but because I'm gliding from vowel to vowel, I end up with a little y sound in there, ale. So the same thing for fail, fail, tail, Taylor. Take a look at my vowel to vowel linking video, and that will explain to you how this little y sound comes in between vowels, and we also have the w sound comes between rounded vowels like tool. So ale with a y and tool with the w. Great question. Thank you so much, Pascal. It's nice to see you back. And let's see. You're welcome for the syllabic N and L videos. I was going to mention to you that those were up and available for you. Sorry it took me so long to make them, but it seems that other people will benefit from them as well. And we're talking about the word component and how syllabic N is a part of that word. Also important, I just did a video in syllabic N talking about the word important, and you can see that in my on my website, speechmodification.com. If you go to the free online practice, I walk you through the steps of that word. So take a look at that. It's very helpful, and look at the T videos and the N videos for that. Control, that's a word where the letter O says vowel schwa, just like we were talking about. Vowel schwa is the most commonly used word sound in English. So control, the stress is on the second syllable. So kun is short and troll is long, and this is vowel schwa. So here's how I would spell it in IPA. Control. And then we want to make sure, actually I tend to have a little schwa, just like with Pascal asking about fail, control, control. I have a little vowel schwa before that L. So short here with the vowel schwa, ka, control, long O, control. Great questions today, guys. Great, okay, so let's get back to our topic of common words. We were talking about the word the, and I want to just say, tell you a little bit more about what are some of the other words that we use the most. So the top most frequent words, the top 10 are the, of, an, to, in, is, you, that, it, for, was, and he. And you can see videos for all of these words in my quick fix videos, in my say this not that playlist. And I would suggest paying attention to some of those words and noticing, okay, what error patterns do I potentially have on these words? Because they're gonna have a big impact. Those are the words that we say the most. If you can change your accent on those, it's gonna really help you. You can get help for all of those words on my playlist, as I said, and on my website, speechmodification.com. If you go to the free practice, you'll see videos and links to help you with those error patterns and those common words. And I also deal with many of these common words in my online courses. So I suggest taking a look at my online courses on speech modification. You can always get a free trial to any online course and check it out, see what videos are there, see what practice exercises might help you. Transatlantic, another question. Great. Suniti has a lot of questions today. Transatlantic, what you want is to stress the first syllable. Trans, vowel a. Transatlantic, secondary stress on the land. So both of those have vowel A, the black cat vowel. You can check out my vowel A video on my vowels playlist to help you with pronunciation of that, transatlantic. And again, that NT combination is going to be that stopped T and syllabic N. So check out the videos I suggested before. It's going to help you with that word as well. All right, so let's get to our quick tip. We're getting close to 9 o'clock, and I want to wrap it up for everyone who's got to get off to work here on the West Coast. What I'm going to suggest for your quick tip, based on today's lesson, is that you choose one everyday word and that you practice saying the sounds in that word, combining the sounds to say the word, and then building that word into phrases. So if we change one word and change the patterns, it's going to help us with other patterns. We've been focusing on that element today. But we need to move then our new patterns, our new practice into our everyday speech. So let's try this with the word the. If you have difficulty or if you have an accent error pattern on the word the, first work on the voice TH sound. Use my playlist. Make sure that you can establish that sound by itself, that you can say th accurately, and then begin to build it into the two sounds, th and vowel schwa, the, begin to say that word. When you can say the word the just by itself accurately with a new pattern, feels pretty comfortable, is not too much of a struggle, then you can begin to use two-word phrases. And this is where you're going to really see an impact on your speech, because I never say the word the by itself. I'm always using it in sentences. And as we had in our earlier question, going from a sound to another sound, like in over there, can be much more difficult than just saying there or just saying over. So if I can say the by itself, it doesn't mean I'm going to be able to say it easily in sentences, but I can build the skills I need to do so. So if I'm going to use the word the, and I'm going to use two-word phrases, a good way to do it is just to name things around you. You can say the window, the chair, the water, the light, the computer, the phone. And you're going to get a lot of practice on transitioning from the into the next word, using it accurately. You're also going to be practicing on the things that you say the most, because you're going to say what comes to mind, and those are the things that we talk about, those common words. Then I would suggest that you begin to practice on the most common combinations of words with the. So not only on my website do I have videos and practice exercises to help you with these common words by themselves, but I also have the combinations we use the most. So the is the most frequently used one single word in English. On the, in the, with the, of the, and at the are some of the most very frequently most used two-word combinations in English. So if I can say the, but I have trouble saying on the, I need to practice on the word on the to get that smooth and fluent into my speech. So you can practice, just do the same kind of repeated phrase practice. I can say on the table, on the counter, on the agenda, on the list, etc. And I'm going to have to come up with the words to fill in the blank. This helps me not only with the sequencing of on and the and getting that natural and fluent into my speech, but it's more like real speech. If I'm just saying the, that's not really mimicking what I have to do in real speech. In real speech, I have to think about what to say. So if I have to think about what to fill in the blank when I say on the blank, then my mind is occupied with coming up with what to say, and I have to build a new habit to say on and the correctly. I walk you through all of these steps in my new book about pronouncing the, and that's available on speechmodification.com. So I'm going to put that link in the chat for you so that you can go there and check out that book and hopefully download that today and get started with those videos. It's going to walk you through a lot of the steps that we just did in more detail and give you the links and videos that are going to help you with that. I also suggest checking out my online practice, the free site, for those of you who had questions about specific words. That's going to help you with finding all of those patterns. And we had a couple more questions. So Suniti says, home, who, and hello. Okay, so there it sounds like maybe your pattern is the initial H sound. So even though I spell who with a WH, I say that with an H sound. So home, who, and hello all start with the h sound. Initial H, for some people, they have a tendency to leave this sound off. So they might say or oo or hello. There's some dialects of British English that have that tendency. African English speakers sometimes will leave off the H. So the H sound, you just need to make a windy sound with the back of your throat. Everything is open and relaxed, but we form that with air in the back of our throat. Home, we have vowel O. Who, we have vowel oo. And hello, we have vowel eh and vowel o. Hello, with stress on the first syllable, hello. So I'm thinking maybe the H was the issue for you there, but those are the details on those words. And Julian has a question about pronouncing Julian. Julian or Julian? Well, I would say that's up to individual preference. How do you pronounce it? In your language, do you say, I guess I can't hear you, so I won't be able to listen. But Americans, I would say, often say Julian with 3 syllables, Julian. But we definitely condense those syllables. So here's the sounds in Julian. Julian. And you can see that even though we spell that with an A, we use the vowel schwa, the sound. And so you're probably noticing Ju is long, Julian, and Lian are short and reduced. And so it might sound just like one sound, Julian, like just one syllable. That's because I'm going very quickly through these second 2 syllables, Julian, Julian. And just like we were talking about earlier, I have to go from E to ends up with this little ya sound in there. It sounds like a Y, Julian, Julian. So Julian brings up a good point that many times the way we say our name in our native language is different than how Americans would say our name. And I always feel personally that you should be able to say your name exactly how your name is pronounced, but it can be helpful to know how Americans might pronounce your name so that they're going to be able to be familiar with what your name is, so that they can spell it correctly, they can know what they're talking about. And so Julian probably wants to know, how can I say my name so Americans will know right away it's Julian, and so they'll know my name correctly. So I would just slow down and say Julian with 3 syllables and make sure you use all of those vowel sounds. And my feeling is that for me, I like to pronounce my name the way it's correctly pronounced if I'm speaking with someone who might not be familiar with the name Christine. And then I like to have in my tools a way to pronounce it that, for example, if I'm speaking in German, that I can say it in a way that I know that the people who speak German are going to understand and say my name correctly. Or in French, I might say it with a bit of a French accent or German accent and change the vowels slightly. And then I know they're going to know, okay, Christine, they're going to be able to spell it. They're going to be able to know what my name is. So I did do a live class about pronouncing your name. And I do have a post on my website. So if you go to my website, speechmodification.com, and you go to free practice, in the search, if you write pronouncing name or name, you'll get a lesson and some tips about how to pronounce your name so Americans can understand what it is. I'm so happy to have your questions, Suniti. You don't have to apologize, and keep track of your words, and I will help you find those patterns in those words. I think that's a useful skill. That's what the class is here for, to answer your questions. And I'll take any more questions that anyone has here at the end of class. I'd like to tell you about a few events that I have coming up. So we'll have our same Friday live class next week at the same time. And then we're going to have a couple weeks with no class, and we'll resume again in July. Also in July, I'm teaching a free all levels class in Bellevue on July 25th. That's a Wednesday night. And we just had one this week on Wednesday night, and we had great attendance. A lot of people came and got a lot of tips for pronouncing everyday words and understanding the SMART technique for American accent. So I hope that you can make it if you're here in the Seattle or East Side area to our class Wednesday, July 25th. That'll be at WeWork in Bellevue. And you can reserve your spot now on speechmodification.com and see more details about that event. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so then you'll get notified when we're live and when I've uploaded a new video for you. Post your comments if you're watching this later, and I'll get back to you with answers to your questions. And thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com.